All right, guys. So yesterday we talked about selling investments. Today we're going to talk about why none of this really matters in the long term. And we're going to be mainly discussing prismatic evolutions, but we're going to take a walk down memory lane and look at evolving skies as well. So if you don't know what I'm looking at right now, this is a chart of evolving skies since it was released. And you can see back here in October 2021, right? So this was, right before everything started to crash. This box was around $250 Canadian, so 180-ish USD, around there, I guess. And you can see after that, as the crash started, these boxes came down to about 150 Canadian, maybe a little over $100 USD in that range. And this was very late 2021, like December, start of January 2022. You're still around about $100 USD. And since that point, Evolving Skies, we all know what happened, right? It's just exploded, and we're now sitting close to $2,000 Canadian. So whatever that would be, 1400 USD. And you can see, right, after that crash happened, early 2022, there really wasn't a lot of people, that were super bullish on Pokemon, at least in the short term. A lot of people had left the hobby. There wasn't as much hype coming out of COVID. But even still, right, even still, when this box was sitting around 150 Canadian, 100 USD, it slowly climbed, right? And then 4 or 5 months later, like mid 2022, end of April, essentially, early May 2022, it was already back up to 250, back up to its high before the crash, right? Before everyone left. And then it dipped a little bit towards the end of the year through the summer. And then into the fall of that year, October, November, you were already up to 340-ish Canadian, so like 230, 240 USD. And then through the end of 2022, early 2023, which again, it wasn't a super popular time in Pokemon, we're already up to $500 Canadian a booster box. And through 2023, early 2024, $600 Canadian. And it just continues to go. And again, guys, don't be upset I'm talking Canadian prices, right? I'm from Canada, right? That's not really the point. The point is that through this entire bear market, or what people would call a bear market, where people weren't as bullish on Pokemon, we weren't in a hype period like we just saw. This box went from $100 USD up to, let's see, middle of last year. Uh, what would that be, like 700, 750 USD, right? So 7.5x on the best box from the Sword and Shield era, and maybe the best box of modern time, and one of the best boxes of all time, potentially. That all happened within a couple years when there wasn't as much hype after a lot of people had left the hobby. Now, talking about prismatic evolutions, right? Because I am a huge fan of prismatic evolutions. Again, if we compare the cards in Evolving Skies to in prismatic evolutions, I would definitely pick Evolving Skies. I think these VMAX cards are amazing, especially the Leafeon, Rayquaza, and Umbreon. Like that's kind of, end of discussion for me. But the cards in prismatic are still very good, right? And no one's denying that Evolving Skies is probably the better set with better artworks, but this is still a very legit set, Prismatic Evolutions. And so many people are downplaying it. People say that there's no identity in the set. They don't enjoy the cards. They don't like the crowns, blah, 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 right? Like the list goes on. The fact is, people are wanting to open Prismatic Evolutions. The cards are worth a lot of money, and it's a lot deeper than you would think. So when I look at something like Prismatic Evolutions and I see that the ETB, which by the way is still holding around 140, maybe slightly starting to move into that 142, 143, like low 40s range, I think this is a really good sign, even in this market. And we gotta remember too, right? The booster bundles just came out, and you can see these have already kind of found a bottom around 70 USD, and a lot of these are selling like every day, 200, 300 are going through. So it makes sense right now why we aren't seeing an uptick as fast in the ETB price, just because a lot of people, if they are trying to get packs to open, booster bundles are probably going to be a better price per pack. It makes perfect sense for rip and shippers, just people at home that want to get products as well. So I think we are going to go through a period of time where these ETBs do potentially move at a slower rate, and that's fine, right? Like that's just bound to happen. It is what it is. But still, like this is going to be a great product. You have an EV promo, and this is the stamped one, already up to around $150. So keep an eye on this. But again, like the set is super deep. You have all of the evolutions, not just some of them, right? Like Jolteon is in here as well. And then you also have, I mean, I guess Evolving Skies did have the Espeon V, I believe, but it didn't have a V Max for the Espeon. So you have all of the evolutions in Prismatic. but we're also starting to see the Roaring Moon take off up to around $275 USD. This one continues to go. Shinji Kanda artwork. I would not be surprised if this continues to climb, and it is one of the more expensive cards in the set. Like it really wouldn't surprise me if this overtakes like the Leafeon, not the Leafeon, the Jolteon, potentially even the Glaceon, maybe Vaporeon. Like those are kind of like the bottom three evolutions, which aren't as popular as your Leafeon, your Flareon, Espeon, Sylveon, Umbreon, obviously. And outside of this Roaring Moon, you have that Ceruledge around $250-ish as well. The Dragapult sitting around 180. This is a playable card also, so people, I believe it's playable, right? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. So, people, if they want to bling out their decks. And also it's Dragapult, which is a fairly popular Pokemon. The Raging Bull, and you know what? It's really interesting to me because I didn't really know how to think about these cards when they first came out, and I'm still not the largest fan of them, but people clearly like the art behind this card and also behind the Roaring Moon, right? It's kind of like that. I don't really know what style of artwork you would call that, but they are very interesting and unique, and people are, taking an interest in them. So that's interesting. The Palafin as well is continuing to climb over 120, closer to $130 now. The Blood Moon Ursaluna has climbed over $100. The Goldango, which I just pulled, is sitting around $100. So there are a lot of really interesting cards, which when you look at something like Evolving Skies, sure, I mean, the top 12-ish cards, you have the VMAXs, the Vs, and not just the evolutions. You have Rayquaza, the Dragonite. Like, those are bangers. But outside of that, you start getting into rainbows, and people just don't like rainbows as much anymore. You have a Golurk, you have a Duraludon VMAX. I guess he did have a Jolteon in here. I, stand corrected, but not a Jolteon VMAX or anything. So again, like outside of those top 12-ish cards, you start getting into rainbows, which just really aren't as interesting for a lot of people. Whereas when you look at Prismatic, it's just a lot deeper. And the point I'm trying to make is that when you look at the total values of these sets, Prismatic, you're still over $11,600 Canadian. Evolving Skies, total set value, only 8,200 Canadian. So Prismatic, even if people don't think it's the best set, obviously I think Evolving Skies top tier cards are much better also, but it's still very close. And even if a crash comes, right, even if we lose a lot of popularity in the hobby, like we saw in late 2021, early 22, and throughout that year, and 2023, right, when the hobby wasn't as popular, the best set of the era, or one of the best sets, I think Prismatic will go down as the best set. I think it's going to be very difficult for something to overtake this. And some of you might say 151, whatever, guys. Like, I understand a lot of you like 151 nostalgia, blah, blah, blah. This is the best set in terms of depth and overall cards in it. And that's like really not arguable. You can talk about artworks and the popular characters, but the reality is this is about as deep as it's ever going to get in a set. And then, you talk about the promo card. It's great, right? So if Evolving Skies almost loses half of its value and then 4 months later in a bear market, right, when people aren't buying as much, is already back to its all-time high, even if we enter something like that, you got to imagine Prismatic Evolutions, maybe there'll be a couple months where you can buy product, but I think after that, we're really just going to see it continue to climb through the years, right? And I think, if you really want to protect yourself from a huge downturn, maybe buying the better sets is just the way to go. Again, like if you want to diversify, that's fine, but just don't be surprised if your sets like your Paradox Rift, your Obsidian Flames, your Stellar Crown, if those don't perform as well as something like Prismatic 151, and it takes a lot longer for it to rebound, right? That's all I'm saying in this video, is that if you want to get into something right now, if you do feel like there is some uncertainty in the market, just buying the best sets is going to be the no-brainer play. And I still think this is a great deal on Prismatic, right? Around $140 USD a box. I imagine 3, 4, 5 years down the line, it's just, you're going to be laughing investing in these, even if they try and print it to the ground, which, again, like I doubt Pokemon's going to do. Like maybe we see a large ETB reprint eventually, but I don't know. It's questionable. Outside of this, though, a couple other things I did want to point out in this video, just because I thought they were interesting and a good sign as well. A lot of the Sword and Shield boxes are, already moving back up, right? Like Brilliant Stars, end of January is around 290. We're seeing it push through 300 now. Lost Origins, same sort of thing, back to around $400. Fusion Strike, it's taken a little bit longer to rebound. you're still seeing sales in that 470, 480 range, a few up closer to 500. But a few of these boxes are already pushing through their all-time highs. For example, Silver Tempest now selling, TCG Player Graph says 260, but most recent sales, 270-ish range on most of these. Astral Radiance, all-time high as well, over 270, and actually getting close to 280. Most recent sale from today. And Vivid Voltage, of all sets, Vivid Voltage is getting close to $200. And you even have sales from yesterday hitting that $200 price point, which is just wild to think how many cases and sets there were of Vivid Voltage, even on the Pokemon Center late last year, earlier this year, maybe even, right? And people were buying those out. And then also Temporal Forces, just end out this video, now selling over $180. Actually getting close to 185, and this has really only happened in the past couple days. You can see here March 15th, it was selling in the mid 170s, and it seems we've kind of broken through all those boxes, or people are, taking their box off the market, now moving into the 180, 185 range. And again, it makes sense, right? Like when we see Obsidian Flames at $200, this set should easily be $200 then, in my opinion. Also Paradox Rift as well. Maybe that lags a little bit, but if Obsidian's $200, Paradox is going to get there, no questions asked as well. So again, guys, if you invest in some of these lower tier sets, just, don't be surprised if they take longer to recover if we do enter a downturn, and stuff like Prismatic, 151, what else? Maybe Surging Sparks, throw it in there, right? But the best of the best, even if they crash a little bit, they are going to perform super well as time goes on. So that's really all I wanted to do in this video. Pump my heavy bags. And yeah, you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.